So for those who don't know, we're gonna let them do their own introductions, but I'll do a quick round. Omar Roman is with District 1. There you go. Cristal Retana is our other District 1 candidate and current District 1 Council Representative. And District 4 is completely open, so we have Mike McGinnis and Richard Jackson. Thank you all for being here. So our ground rules are pretty basic. Our core values of the chamber are honor, integrity, and excellence. So we just ask that we keep this very kosher, that we be mindful of time so that everyone gets a fair chance to speak. And rule number 3, this is somewhat of a joke, hopefully y'all get that. This is not the academy. Sorry guys, I couldn't resist. All right, so we will start right here at the end. We'll just go straight down the line. Omar Roman, and if you guys will just introduce yourselves, give a little bit of why you're running, what your passion is for the city of Farmers Branch.
Hello, my name is Omar Roman. For those of you who don't know me, a little bit about me is that I actually was born in Mexico, and when I was about 4 years old, my family decided to make the big move to come to the United States. And we moved to Garland, Texas. When I turned 18, I accomplished 3 things. The first is I was the first person in my family to graduate from high school. The second is I was the first person in my family to be accepted to a 4-year institution. And third, I also swore an oath to become a United States citizen of this country. When I went on to Texas Tech University, I'm a Red Raider through and through. I studied personal financial planning from one of the top programs in the entire country, and I graduated with a bachelor's and master's. I then went on to complete my certified financial planner designation. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, it is one of the highest designations that you can achieve in the entire financial services industry. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of families achieve financial security, and that is the level of fiscal responsibility that I hope to bring to City Council. Now, why am I running? I'm running because I really have a passion for Farmers Branch, and I love it. I have been walking door to door since January 3rd with this notebook. And in this notebook, I have all of the issues that our constituents feel that have been unaddressed by our current representation. I have in here the unheard voices of Farmers Branch in District 1, including my own. So with that passion, I hope to bring a change. And I want to also bring that change to the chamber. I want to make sure that every single business owner here feels like they have a voice with me, and that if there's any changes that we're going to be implementing in the city, that your voice is considered with that vote. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cristal Retana. I have the pleasure of being your Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Farmers Branch and running for re-election for District 1. My story is also very unique. I am proud to be a first-generation Texan, proud daughter of Mexican immigrants, proud military wife. My husband serves in the Marine Corps, but proud resident, longtime resident of the city of Farmers Branch. I was actually raised here. I'm a product of Carrollton Farmers Branch. I went to Montgomery, Vivian Field, and R.L. Turner High School. And through that experience and just living in Farmers Branch, it really took a village to get me to where I am. I am the first and only to graduate from college, the first in my family to attend. I went to Texas Women's University where I got a bachelor's in chemistry and government. During that time, I realized that there were a lot of injustices happening around my community, both in higher education for first generation students that were not getting enough funding, but also here in Farmers Branch in the mid-2000s. And so equity is a huge part of the work that I do. Right after college, I got a job in the Texas Senate. Public policy was a passion because I was trying to figure out how individuals that were in these positions were making decisions that were affecting me and my family here in Farmers Branch. And so I started working in the Senate as a legislative staffer for the last 12 years. I've been working in government and community relations working in the Texas House, the Texas Senate, doing legislative affairs for the DA's office, and now even chief of staff for a council member in Dallas. Until most recently, I started working in the healthcare space doing community outreach and government relations. That's important because I understand how policy works. And over the last 3 years, I have tried to ensure that we have the best policies in place to ensure equity, transparency, and financial stewardship here within Farmers Branch, implementing such things like a senior repair program, having the first ever Hispanic Heritage Festival, starting to translate a lot of the communications that we have in Spanish, because we are now a majority minority city, and we need to make sure that we're sharing information in the way that individuals need to be able to receive it. And so my priorities are financial stewardship, economic security, and the quality of life and public safety of our residents. And I want to ensure that we continue this as I continue to represent this district where I grew up. Thank you.
My name is Mike McGinnis. I'm running for District 4 City Council. And my brief biography, I was raised on Air Force bases. I call El Paso my hometown. I went to the Air Force Academy and went into the Air Force, finished a career there, was hired at American Airlines, and I just retired from there about 3 years ago. And because of this background, I can offer leadership, integrity, and a sense of service to the city. My background demonstrates experience with fact-based and rational decision-making. I have no personal agenda or affiliations that would interfere with my objectivity or open-mindedness on any issues. I feel like I can bridge differences and work together with the council and the city government as a team to find solutions. I believe I can listen to people's concerns and interests and use that as we continue the advancement of Farmers Branch in amenities, our economy, and infrastructure. There's two reasons why I really decided to run. One was I wanted to do something meaningful with my retirement, participate in something bigger than myself, which is kind of a common sense in the military. And also I had a concern for the future of Farmers Branch. I try to step back from the daily problems and issues and take a 30,000-foot view of where we're going. And I know the council's actions today will shape the city and its issues of tomorrow. So my priorities: continuing modernization, using funding that maintains our very low tax base, housing solutions for an increasing population to include zoning changes, policies that encourage business to locate and remain here as contributors to our tax base, gathering information and ideas from surrounding cities and improving and learning from their initiatives. And finally, investigating ways, not finally, there's a lot of priorities, but I want to investigate ways that Farmers Branch can inform every citizen before rumors appear and people think they've been left out, and make it easy for them to participate. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Jackson, and I am your experienced and engaged candidate for Farmers Branch City Council District 4. So I have a long history of volunteer service, leadership, and involvement in Farmers Branch. So it's only natural that I'm running for City Council because simply I want to give to my community. Right? And the thing that's got me particularly excited is to encourage our residents and businesses to engage with our city leadership in a very lasting way. Our government's number one job is to keep us safe. Ensuring that police and fire have what they need to keep us safe is my top priority. In our personal lives, needs are first, wants are second. Government should function the very same way. Now, I have 30 years of experience in the financial services industry. The success of my career revolves around two key components. One is scrutinizing expenses and driving revenue. Now, in the corporate world, I do my part to drive shareholder return. As a city council member, I'll do my part to drive taxpayer return. And that matters to businesses because businesses pay for 73% of our city's operating expenses. Business participation is integral to our city's success. But if you don't live here, you can't vote here. So businesses and residents deserve to have a productive relationship with a city government that invites your ideas and your concerns. As your city council member, I would welcome that opportunity. I'm Richard Jackson, and if we've not had the pleasure to meet yet, let's do that soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your introductions. Next question. What do you feel is the greatest area of improvement for your district specifically and the city as a whole? We're going to go in reverse order this time.
So in District 4, which covers everything from Valley View Lane to the tollway, and from Webb Chapel to the tollway south of Valley View Lane, one of the biggest concerns that we have in our district is the upcoming congestion that's going to be created by traffic with a lot of additional development. We have development that's going to come out of the backside of Vitruvian Parkway. We have 110 apartment units that's going to be pulled out and replaced with a high rise of 5-story and a 7-story apartment complexes. That's 700 residents. So from 100 to 700 residents, that's going to create some additional traffic. We're also pulling buildings out of the Blue Lake area, and we're adding more condos and townhomes. On top of that, Brookhaven College is now called Dallas College, is going to be expanding and putting in an early college facility. All of these things to me says traffic, traffic, traffic. So that currently is our biggest challenge, is ensuring that all the developers in the city planning includes independent traffic impact studies that we can trust. And while they're building their developments and addressing the traffic issues they're going to cause, we'd also like to see them address the traffic issues that already exist.
My main concern is closely allied with that. I think we are going to see an increase in population. The town is growing. People like to come here, and we're going to have to find a place to house them. I think the zoning changes will take care of a lot of that. I think the city has begun a good foray into the area of multi-zoning, multi-use zoning, and that helps put people with shops and entertainment and grocery stores. So that's one way that the city council needs to plan for the future. They need to make this a more walkable city and less of a 60s and 70s car commuting city. That might help take some of the cars off the roads. And it will also make the house building, the single family unit that we're very fond of, a little bit more compatible with, say, duplexes or fourplexes that can be built just as attractively as single family homes, get more people in the same area. And again, the traffic, if we can get the streets and we can get the different businesses and shops aligned, the traffic does need to be controlled.
Thank you so much for the question. So as far as our district, I think the biggest concern is really communication and equity. We have, and one of the reasons why I ran for office is there are a lot of barriers that we have that we unknowingly have. People don't know what they don't know. And making sure that we have transparency and equity among representation of people that live and have different experiences to ensure that we're able to have the resources and the information go to all of our constituencies in the way they can understand, comprehend, and receive the information. An email blast is no longer enough. And so one of the things that I've done is make sure to work with our faith leadership, to work with our community members, to try to find ways to communicate by implementing translation services for some of our collateral that has never been done before, making sure that we talk about some of those barriers, like having a night court, which is something that I implemented for our working class. And so just making sure that our constituencies get the communication and are able to be heard and have a seat at the table. As far as the city, I think growth is one of our biggest issues, because we need to plan for that growth, right? There's a lot of development going on, but then in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot of redevelopment. And as that growth happens, we need to make sure to plan for that infrastructure in innovative ways by partnering with a lot of our regional entities, which luckily I've had the experience to do in my 12-year profession, to work with the COG, to work with the different county entities to provide solutions, fiduciary solutions, without using our own tax base. And so making sure we plan for that growth in a way where we also don't displace our community, because housing is a huge issue. And so making sure we provide mixed types of housing, and even been working on a project in my district for workforce housing, so that way our community members can stay where they live, but then also we're able to provide opportunities for redevelopment incentives and development incentives for our growing population, because economic development is very important here in our city. And we want to make sure that we bring new business, both big and small, and work with all of our business communities so they also have a seat at the table and can make Farmers Branch their home. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. I would say the two biggest issues in District 1 are taxes and amenities. I'll start with taxes. In District 1, we pay the highest amount of taxes in the entire district, because we have two sets of taxes that currently don't exist in many other places in the city. We pay PID and we pay Valwood, as well as every other tax that everybody else is used to paying. And for that, we don't have the city services or amenities to match up with that. So one of the initiatives that I want to really push forward is making sure that we are proud of the city services that we can see. If you actually look at a map, and I've looked at it and put one together, you pinpoint all of the different city parks and amenities that the city offers. We have the least number of city services and amenities. So how does that match up? And it is under our current leadership that this has continued. So that is why we need a change. We needed somebody there who lives in that area, somebody who is invested. I'm buying a house in Mercer Crossing. I pay taxes. So if I'm going to have to recommend a tax increase, it's also coming out of my pocket. I am the person that's going to empathize with what's coming out of your pocket. So again, taxes and amenities is something that I'm really passionate about, and making sure that gets addressed in District 1. Thank you.
All right, next question. How do you intend to attract new businesses and retain existing businesses to the city? As mentioned earlier, they are the #1 taxpayer and primarily support all the other city services and amenities. Cristal, we're going to start this one with you.
Thank you so much. So in my profession, I've had the pleasure of working with chambers of commerce throughout my entire tenure. Currently serve on executive boards for North Dallas Chamber, Oak Cliff Chamber, have served in Metro Crest Chamber. So I understand a lot of the ways that we can continue to engage our businesses. I think what the Farmers Branch Chamber has done over the last 2 years is incredible. Making sure you provide opportunities for your businesses to get together, to create new business amongst each other, and to ensure that you're able to get the resources that you need to be able to make your business flourish. Advocacy, networking, those are I think the two biggest things that some of the chambers can do. And I think making sure that the chamber understands some of those changes in policies that affect your business, to make sure that it does not halt you to be able to do the things that you're doing. As far as new business that comes in, I've had the pleasure to work with our amazing economic development department, and they do an amazing job to try to not only allow for us to provide different types of financial opportunities for new development coming in, but really do a good job of ensuring that we showcase who we are as a city, making sure that we have amenities for your employees, making sure that we have the things that you need as employers, so we can then provide those opportunities here, and making sure that we have some of the lowest taxes in our community, that we continue to do that. We continue to have an amazing fund balance, and continue to ensure that we're able to provide equitable housing for your employees as well, because they look at education with relocation, they look at healthcare, which we have some of the best healthcare systems. So making sure that we partner with those entities to show a true story of what it means to be able to have a business here in Farmers Branch, and show all of the amenities within our radius that are able to provide for these relocations for your employers and for your employees as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Attracting business to Farmers Branch, I would think, is fairly easy, mostly because of our location. And because of our location, businesses are able to have a very central point to come in. Now, a lot of businesses don't depend on transportation and that kind of thing anymore. So we have to make the city a place that's welcoming to them and a place that's attractive to them. And so those kind of plans reach far out in the future. You have to be able to plan for the future and the improvement of the attractiveness of the city and the ease of mobility. I think businesses, by and large, are more likely to come to a place, as we said, that makes it economically feasible for them to operate well. And the District 4 especially has all kinds of warehouse space, office space, and places for them to go that make it easy for them to locate here.
So the city has at its disposal an incentive policy. It's Chapter 380. And this Chapter 380 has a lot of different tools that the City Economic Development Group and the City Council can partner on in attracting new businesses to Farmers Branch. Business has changed a lot just in the last 2 or 3 years. This policy should be reviewed very regularly so that the provisions change with the times. I was reading it over last week, and I believe that some of the tax incentives that are available in there may have a little bit of a high barrier to entry, right? It's really focused on larger businesses. And as my opponent said, we have a great location that attracts businesses to Farmers Branch. Essilor themselves said, we're here because of location. Right? I've talked to a few business owners on the east side that said the Midway corridor is a great place for retail and restaurants. So one thing that's not ever going to change for Farmers Branch is location. But why don't we have more businesses in Farmers Branch? And why did we lose businesses like IBM, I2? I think it's because the city could do a better job of partnering with those businesses, keeping up its incentives, and actively reaching out to business owners in other markets and showing them what Farmers Branch is about. Currently, our city council does not take an active role in doing that. And that's what city council should be out doing, is advocating for Farmers Branch. When we advocate for Farmers Branch, we advocate for our district and all of our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Grace. You know, when I think of how to answer this question, I go back to what it is that I do for a living. I'm a financial planner and I build relationships with people. I make sure that those relationships are well maintained and my clients are happy. That's what pays the bills at home. And I think I can take from that experience and apply that to city council to bring in new businesses. Part of what I think is lacking is the ability to build and maintain relationships with some of the largest stakeholders in the community. If you look at the west side, you will see that there's empty lots everywhere. To me, that speaks volumes. It says opportunity. There's an opportunity to develop that area. As I have been walking since January 3rd with this notebook, people have told me that they feel we are in a food desert. We don't have a grocery store in that area. We don't have a pharmacy. We don't have an emergency room. I was making cookies in Christmas, and I realized when I was making the cookies, I didn't have any eggs. So what do? I get in my car, I go to the gas station, there's none there. Go to the next gas station, there's none there either. So we didn't have cookies for Christmas because I didn't want to leave Farmers Branch. And that story I've shared with many, many people, and a lot of people have that exact same experience. And we tell each other, don't forget, there's no eggs at that gas station because there isn't anything there. So what we need to do is we need to partner with the people who own those properties and work with them. The council person is the leader of the community. They are supposed to work with the diverse groups of people to make things happen. For instance, we have to keep in mind what the residents will support. We have to keep in mind what the city will support. And we also have to keep in mind the landowners or other stakeholders that may be involved in making these decisions. And I have served in that capacity with my clients, and I want to serve in that capacity in city council. Thank you.
All right, several of you have mentioned financial stewardship. Actually, before we get to that question, if anyone does have questions that they would like to add as we go along, there are papers and pens on your table. And our chairman, Steve Dowry, is in the back, as well as our chairman of the Ambassador Committee, Terrell Tipton. They will be happy to collect those for you and help those get to the front. All right, so back to financial stewardship. Sorry, this is a lot of questions we've already had submitted. As a councilman, will you advocate for requiring financial disclosure documents for elected officials and the city manager, as well as appointees to boards and commissions, in order to assure there are no conflicts of interest? Mike, we're going to start with you, and you'll pass to the right.
Thank you. The question is directly about financial disclosure and conflicts of interest with the city council. I think they have a really good policy in place at now that will prevent that kind of thing. If there's any contribution to a city councilman campaign over $1,000, a councilman's requested to recuse themselves from any consideration dealing with that business. Since we disclose the donations and the spending for the campaigns and in the councilman's accounts, it seems to me that that should be adequate in preventing any kind of undue influence due to campaign contributions.
Thank you so much for that question. As I mentioned, financial stewardship is one of my priorities, and I think transparency is key. I think we need to be transparent in every single thing that we do as a city, especially when we are handling the business and the residential tax dollars that we have. So I think we need to practice what we preach as council members. We need to be transparent, and we need to ensure that there aren't conflicts of interest and there aren't any future negativities that can happen because of the things that we're doing in these roles. These are volunteer roles, and I take this role very seriously. I am honored to represent the community that I grew up in, the village that helped me get to where I am. And I think we need to ensure that we do our due diligence to make sure that everything that we do is out in the open, make sure that our residents know what we're doing at every single point. And I also want to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable as volunteers of this amazing city. And so as we continue to work in the next few years, trying to make sure that we keep taxes low, trying to make sure we don't raise taxes, trying to make sure that we are financial stewards with our amenities and reducing some of the burdens even for our seniors. I think that we need to make sure that we do our due diligence and practice what we preach and create transparency among everything we do, not just the budget, but any decisions that we make, and have all of our leaders, our community members, our residents, and our business leaders have a seat at the table so we have all of the information when we're making decisions. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Grace. Coming from the financial industry, I've worked with a variety of clients who have to participate in some financial disclosures. One common misconception that I have found going door to door is that people often think that people in the presidency and in Senate, everything that they do impacts us. The reality is that, yes, there's a lot of things that they do, but not everything. Here at the local level, every single thing that we do touches you. Every single thing that we do impacts you, impacts the businesses, impacts everything within Farmers Branch. So with the level of responsibility that we have, I am in full support of advocating for financial disclosures, not just for city council members or mayors or staff, but also across the board with anybody who has any authority or participation within the city that can financially benefit. And that's the way I see it.
My answer is real simple. Yes, absolutely. I support full disclosure. In addition to the council's ordinance or the city's ordinance on campaign finance, like Omar, I live in a very heavy regulated world in financial services. So my life is very well disclosed out there. And so I absolutely believe that we should disclose our financials and show our constituents that we don't have anything to gain personally by being a member of City Council and for advocating for them. So I have nothing to hide.
All right. This is a chamber question for you guys. We're going to hit the city and then we're going to go to our audience questions next. As a councilman, what would you do to better support the Chamber of Commerce and our member businesses? Omar, we're going to start back with you.
Thank you for the question, Grace. I think that's a very easy question. Many of you I recognize, many of you I built relationships with, and many of you I probably visited at your business at some point or another, probably carrying this notebook as well. And so I think part of what I would want to do to continue to serve the chamber is continue to do that. But also we've talked a lot about putting, prioritizing the things that are really important and putting your money where your mouth is, right? And so for me, to my knowledge, I'm the only person on my ballot that is a current member of the Chamber of Commerce, because I want to make sure that you feel that I'm with you. I want to attend as many events as long as my employer doesn't get upset with me. But I want to attend as many events. And the reason I want to attend is because I want you to build a relationship with me. I want you to know that I'm accessible, that I'm here, that I'm available. Sometimes it's difficult to kind of think, make time in the day to call somebody or email somebody, but it's a lot easier if you can catch me after an event and say, hey, Omar, I have this problem. You think you can help me? And I'm always going to be there. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. As I mentioned, I have a long tenure working with chambers of commerce professionally. And I think that, again, what the work that this chamber does to bring people together over the last few years is really been great. And I would like to correct that in that as members of the city council, we are members of this chamber as well as the MetroCrest chamber. So current council members are current members, and we do our due diligence to make sure that we attend as many events, to make sure that we work with our business leaders, to make sure that they know that we're here for them. We listen. My door is always open and always has been. And I know I've had the pleasure of meeting a number of you in those instances as we've been able to take pleasure in the amazing new businesses that are coming here to our chamber. But I think one of the biggest things that we can do, and something that I've been able to do with other chambers, is create advocacy opportunities. Because what a lot of folks don't realize is the policies that are being implemented at the state, local, and federal level do impact your business. I'll give an example. Right now, we're looking at crime prevention in apartments, making sure that a lot of your apartment members are a part of that conversation, right? Making sure that we build the best policies. And I made sure to advocate for that, because having everyone at the table at every level to make sure that we make the best decisions and that I, as a council member, have all of the information is important, because I don't want to put the burden on our residents, but I also don't want to put the burden on our businesses, because everybody wins whenever we create policies that positively affect everybody that lives, works, plays, and raises a family here, because that is the best thing about Farmers Branch. It is the best place to do that. And so I want to continue to ensure that our chamber membership, our board, understands what we're doing as a city, how you can get involved, and also understand how these policies can affect you, because we want to hear from you. And luckily, we've had a great relationship where we're able to have that open conversation. And I hope to continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like the chamber has two functions that relate to the city. They network with each other and improve their business connections within the city. But at the same time, I feel like the chamber can be an advocate for the city themselves. And so I'd like to see an interplay between the council and the chamber to collect information on what businesses the Chamber of Commerce helps to bring to the city. And that would help highlight the Chamber of Commerce, and it would help form a good basis of funding from the city to the chamber.
So first, I'd like to congratulate Grace and Raymond, the team, for their leadership with the Chamber of Commerce. They've done a spectacular job of leading this organization to greatness. In my time that I've engaged with the Chamber of Commerce, I've witnessed some pretty explosive growth, and it's actually inspired me to get out and meet more people. In fact, I think everybody should pretend to politic now and then and just go knock on doors and meet people. It's really fun. You'll be surprised what you learn about people and yourself. But one thing that I think that the city can do to improve the effectiveness of the Chamber of Commerce is improve their funding. Over the next 3 years, the Chamber's current contract, the city is reducing their funding of our Chamber of Commerce down to $15,000 a year. On the flip side of that, the amount that the city is giving to charities is over hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I think one can help balance out the other. So if Farmers Branch is really interested in bringing new businesses to Farmers Branch, I think they need to more strongly support the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to invite our chairman of the board, Steve Dowry, to the front to ask a few of the audience questions.
Okay. I'm not going to use a microphone. Hopefully y'all can hear me just fine.
Actually, if you would please, so that the live stream can pick up the audio as well.
Nobody wants to hear me on the live stream. Okay. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We talked a lot about businesses and you got what your plans are as far as attracting. So this one, partnering with the youth and the citizens of Farmers Branch. How can Farmers Branch help serve the youth who are facing tough times? And how can Farmers Branch do a superior job of helping single parent families? Omar, I want you to start us off. Oh, anything?
You know, I work with families for a living and helping them administer their finances responsibly to make sure that the next generation has enough resources to make it last. And one of the things that I've noticed is where people get hit hard the most is in taxes. Over the past 3 years, our tax rate has increased by 80%. And we had an opportunity most recently in the last budget consideration to reduce the tax rate. Unfortunately, our city council decided otherwise. In a time where, most importantly, single parent households are significantly impacted by every incremental increase in their budget, we could have done better in that situation. I will not vote for any budget that I don't feel is in the best interest of the citizens. The other thing that I want to change to support the youth is I've been walking door to door and people have told me that they want to see more city services like parks. And I know that we're finally in the works and in conversations of bringing a park into the west side and hopefully making some improvements to some other parks in District 1. And I want to continue that effort to make sure that families have a place to go for their children. Another thing that I want to focus on is I want to also bring family-friendly businesses to the city of Farmers Branch. I think another thing that we haven't seen just yet, but I know is coming, there's been a great deal of increase in terms of children being born on the west side. You put new houses and apartments and townhomes and condos, and you will see kids spring, right, and come up. And so I think we need to provide more family-friendly businesses there so that it's conducive to the population that's growing in that area. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. Youth empowerment is one of my personal passions, and I am actually a CFBISD mentor. I've been a mentor for years, and one of the things I'm actually working on right now with CFBISD is a program for us to be able to empower, especially our first generation students, to be able to talk to the parents about what they need in order for them to go to college and get a higher education. I was in that boat. I had no idea what a FAFSA was. I had no idea if I was going to be able to go to college or how I was going to pay for it. That is still true today. And so being able to partner with volunteers to be able to start this program for people in Farmers Branch and empower them and show the great things that can happen if you are able to go to college and how we can help them do that. The other thing I started on council is a youth commission. Working with the city of Dallas and other cities, a lot of cities had youth commissions that basically is a program to showcase what a city does and start creating that next generation of leaders that can become our next city council members, our next state senators, to show them the impact that local government empowerment has in your everyday life. We just took them to DC. One of the girls had never traveled before. She'd never been outside of Farmers Branch. Seeing the look on her face and the possibilities, she was so excited. She said, I had no idea that I can do this. And for a first generation person like myself to see myself in her, it was amazing. So I think youth empowerment is one of the things that we need to do, because these are the future leaders. And by partnering with these nonprofit organizations to empower them and give them financial planning and education is important, like MetroCrest Services. And serving on their board, being a MetroCrest family myself that was food insecure, that needed rental assistance, that's empowering because we're giving back now. It needs to come full circle. We need to start volunteering and helping these agencies to be able to empower these individuals, like through our Safe and Sound program, where families were at the verge of homelessness, and we work with MetroCrest Services to give them financial empowerment. And so I think youth empowerment is grand, making sure we have amenities that support them, which is why I was very proud to be the one to advocate for a West Side Park and a signature park. I am the one that's advocating for a satellite library and a satellite recreation center on our West Side. And we're having our first meeting next week, because I believe that those things need to happen all over our city, and I've made sure to advocate for that, and we'll be starting that here in the next couple of months. Thank you.
We are the city in the park, and the parks are here for youth recreation and families to take their kids to. And I think if we can maintain that and keep track of how many parks live near people that have that need, that will help fulfill the mission for that. But I think for single parent families with children, daycare is absolutely critical. And if we can provide daycare and night care for families whose parents have to go work and don't have anybody around, any family members, and can't afford the cost of individual daycare, then I think the city could look into a program of providing city-sponsored, responsible, well-vetted day and night care for parents that don't just work 9 to 5. But these people, the job I was in worked all night a lot of times. I don't know how some of the single parents raise their kids under those conditions. But I think if the city government can look into sponsoring a low-cost daycare for the in-need families with single parents, that will go a long way towards mitigating this problem.
So a couple of areas I think that the city can engage in is in kids' education and their spare time. So I don't want to overlook the fact that Farmers Branch already has a lot of excellent youth-driven programs. You know, our Parks and Recreation Board has won national awards for their programs. Our Frog Pond has won national awards for their programs. So we already are doing a lot to engage our families, our single-parent homes, and to help to promote creativity with young children. You know, when young kids attend these city events and these city programs, they learn new things about themselves. They become more creative, and they start to find out what direction they're going to want to go, where their interests are. And so I think as a city council that we need to continue to invest our time and our resources in the programs that we already have. Reinventing the wheel may take too long and may take too much resource. We have opportunities now with some really great foundations that have already been laid by our city to take advantage of that and grow our kid and grow our youths very well into the future, so that maybe they stay here in Farmers Branch and continue to live and experience and promote Farmers Branch.
All right, last question, and then we'll do closing comments. Steve Dowry's got the final decision on that.
But we're going to keep the one that's closest and dearest to our hearts. Obviously, it's a question related to the chamber. So funding for the chamber has been cut drastically under the current leadership. One, will you continue to support the chamber? And two, what current contributions will you make if elected to support the chamber going forward?
Thank you for the question. And it is true that our current representation has not done the best job in supporting the chamber by cutting their funding. Now, the membership that I talked about, I paid for with my own money. It wasn't paid for by the city or anybody else. It came out of my own pocket because that's how invested I am in. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. Now, I think we can do better. I think that we can find money to increase the funding of the chamber so that they have the ability to touch more businesses, so that they have the ability to advocate more fully for the different businesses that support us in the city already. Did you know that 73% of the city's revenue comes from every single one of you here? It comes from businesses. So why is it that your funding is only $15,000? That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that that is addressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. So over the last few years, as I mentioned, I've been Chamber of Commerce. That's one of my roles professionally and personally. And so one of the things that I have done is I have supported our Farmers Branch Chamber to ensure that we do not continue to cut funding. But also what I've done is make sure that there has been a plan potentially to merge chambers. But I've always believed that we need to have our own. However, I do believe in financial stewardship, and I need to make sure that what we invest in, we see kind of that economic development coming. And one of the things I think we can do is be better partners through our economic development partner and our Farmers Branch Chamber to ensure that that partnership can become more fiduciary responsible from a chamber perspective, but also make sure that we are able to then be able to get the data and information we need to ensure that we can continue to grow that incentive and to grow the funds that we're giving to our Farmers Branch Chamber. I will say there are a lot of cities that don't give to chambers of commerce, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have their, sometimes they don't have their own EDC, right? But we have our own EDC, but we need to partner better with the chambers of commerce, the both that we have here in our community, to be able to have those meetings with some of those potential developers, have those meetings with those business owners, have those meetings to be able to bring them into the fold and showcase all the different things that we can do for them as a city, as far as our Chamber of Commerce partnership, but also a partnership with all of the things that we're doing here. So I will continue to support the chamber, but I also want to make sure that we are responsible and we are able to showcase this is why we're investing. These are all the things that the chamber has done from an economic development perspective, because in my experience with other chambers of commerce, that's what they like to see when it comes to ensuring the continuance of these types of programs, which I hope they will continue. Thank you.
I think I partly addressed this before, and I suggest that we find a way to collect some data on the effectiveness of the chambers of commerce to bring businesses to Farmers Branch. The conventions that you go attend, the meetings that you have in other cities, the places you go in other states. I know one of the Chamber of Commerce's main functions is publicity type things, attracting, telling how good Farmers Branch is for your business. So if we can, again, collect that information and partner with the city communications department to help you put the message out, that would really go a long way towards helping the city council increase the funding for the Chamber of Commerce.
So you know my answer to this question. I absolutely support increasing the funding of the Chamber of Commerce. I think they are, I think they're a vital part of our community. Throwing the Chamber of Commerce $15,000 a year to bring 20 new memberships on per quarter, that's not even throwing a bone to the Chamber of Commerce, right? It sounds to me more like an accommodation. So I would suggest a significant increase in that funding to promote our chamber and make it more of a centerpiece of our community. It's very important. We've already said a number of times today how much business contributes to our community. Let's stand behind that and support our chamber. Thank you.
All right, we're just about at time, so we're going to do one last round of just closing comments, final thoughts, and also just how people might be able to get a hold of you. I know all of you have websites. I don't think anyone's ready to write down phone numbers and emails, but just make sure that they know how to find you.
www.richardjacksonfb.com. That's how you can get in touch with me. I've also got my cards. It has my personal cell phone number and email address. I am accessible. So as I said earlier, I am the experienced and engaged candidate for District 4. Long before I ever made a decision to run for city council, I was out in the community, getting to know people, making sure in particular that the seniors in my neighborhood know that there's somebody that they can call that's nearby that will come help them when they're in need. There was a problem on my street with a short-term rental property, and I couldn't stand to let the 93-year-old lady next door and the 72-year-old lady on the other side sit there and watch their quality of life be destroyed. So I worked with my community, and I worked with the city of Farmers Branch and the city council for 9 months to bring an ordinance to stop the bad behavior. And let me tell you, without going into details, it was bad in my neighborhood. But at the same time, property owners have rights to turn their properties into income property. So there was a balance there, because at that time, there were over 200 short-term rentals in Farmers Branch. And so they needed someone to consider their rights as well as the quality of life of neighbors in our neighborhood. So we were successful in doing that, and thankfully our city council listened. We got an ordinance in control and brought that under control. So I'm experienced and I'm engaged, and I hope that you'll vote for me if you're in District 4. And if you're not in District 4, we can still be friends. Thank you.
I'm a cheerleader for the city of Farmers Branch. I'm excited about where they're going in the future, and I think it's going to take some good, hard planning, continuation of the planning that they're doing now to achieve the kind of look, the kind of feel, and the kind of ease of accessibility and attractiveness that this city is trying to achieve. It'll make us continue to be a little jewel right in the inner ring suburbs that attracts business and attracts people and grows our own economy. So I think just looking into the future and knowing that the problems of today are not going to be the problems of tomorrow, especially if we can address it today, is going to be the most important thing I can offer.
Thank y'all so much for being here today. Thank you to the Chamber for putting this on and giving us the opportunity to share kind of what our priorities are. Again, my name is Cristal Retana. I am your Mayor Pro Tem for the City of Farmers Branch and running for re-election for District 1. I have the experience, I have the knowledge. I also am from this area. I have lived through some of the barriers. I have lived through some of the growth myself. And I feel like I have the support and the network and the knowledge and public policy for the 12-year tenure that I have to be able to continue the work that we're doing. As I mentioned before, one of my priorities is transparency and communication. And I have proven that through some of the things I've implemented through translation services, making sure that we have all of our newsletters go out to all of our constituencies, even our apartments. When it comes to quality of life and public safety, I've made sure that we continue to invest in our police officers and our first responders, giving money to be able to ensure we have a fully staffed department, which we do now, but also plan for our future growth. Because outside of people, public safety is, I think, one of our biggest assets. And also, one of the third things I talked about was infrastructure and development, making sure we provide innovative ways to promote that development. And one of the things I've done is through my partnerships, work with the COG, work with our county officials to get funding outside of our tax base to pay for some of the Mustang Station and expansion projects and the TxDOT expansion projects and amenities that we're going to get here in the next few years. And then last but not least, I talk about financial stewardship. And again, making sure that we used our ARPS funding for some of the things that we can't use it for anything else, because we are not over 50% or 50,000 people, we can't take advantage of some of the federal funding. So we need to be innovative on how we get these funds and partner with these networks. And I've had the ability to do that professionally, and I want to bring those opportunities here to our city. So that way we're able to fund some of these nonprofit programs that we've been funding, not through tax dollars, but through some of the federal dollars that have been coming our way, because they're still important. And it's just the right thing to do, because the quality of life of every resident, the success of them is the success of this city. So thank you so much for your time and opportunity. I'm a runner. So my slogan is Run with Retana, probably not lately, but www.runwithretana.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Omar Roman again. That's my website, omarroman.com, with 2 R's in the middle. Many of you have already given my business cards to, and again, visited with you probably. And so you know how to get a hold of me. And if not, you'll find me at the next chamber event as well. One of the things that I want for you to take away after my conversation with you today is 2 things: time and results. Time is what I have. I'm not a member of 17 or 15 other organizations. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the Farmers Branch Rotary Club. That's it. I support this community. I have the time to devote to this community. In my profession, if you do not deliver results, you will be kindly asked to leave. Results is something that I'm experienced with, and I will deliver. We need a change. My neighbors say they need a change. And as a little bit of an exclusive today, I will share with you that I am also the candidate that is being endorsed by the Metrotex Association of Realtors. In addition to that, as of 2 or 3 hours ago, I am also the candidate that is being supported by the Farmers Branch Police Officers Association for this race. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you for staying a little bit late. Thank you to so many of our residents who came up here. Disclaimer before we shut off the live feed. This will be available for viewing. If you want to pass that along, you all can share it as well. We will, if there are any comments that are not professional or kind, we will, at the directive of our board of directors, remove those from any of the online streams. So we do have gifts for each of you today. We have Cristal. Not each of you. There's not 62 good bags. All right, Mike and Richard, one more round of applause for them. Thank you all for taking your time. Really appreciate each of you, and that you just have a heart to serve our city. And may the best candidate win. And may all of you have good Fitbits so that you're getting lots of steps in the next month or so. Local elections are Saturday, May 7th. Early voting starts April 25th. And by all means, please reach out to them if needed. And we do have a few drawings. You guys are welcome to be seated. A few prizes. Shout out to Bo Diamante.